Thank you. Mr. Scott.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Secretary Hagel, I was going to ask if you thought that the sequester cuts and the other cuts were degrading our military strength, but I think you already gave that answer as decimating the internal structure of our military. Is that correct?
Congressman, I have said that many times, that you can't have the kind of deep, abrupt cuts that we are experiencing and continue to have those with the uncertainty of planning without having an effect on our readiness and our future capabilities. Yes.
I agree with you, and therefore it's a threat to our national security.
Yes, it is.
Thank you. I've listened, and General Dempsey, I know you indicated that the threat to our national security was essentially that if we don't stop him, he will do it again, and that others may follow suit. Is that what you believe the threat to our national security is?
Yeah, generally speaking, I mean, to the Congressman, what's different this time? It's the scope, the scale, really, of the use. The use of it to clear a neighborhood, which indicates that it's gone from being a small-scale use that was used to terrorize to a large-scale use that's now indiscriminate. If that becomes a global norm, I think we're at great risk.
I guess I respectfully disagree with that assessment that that's a threat to national security. But if he has 1,000 metric tons, and Secretary Kerry, that's the number that you just said a minute ago, that would be 2.2 million pounds. Is that correct?
Well, I'm actually an English major, but I'll take your word for that.
It's 2.2 million pounds, and if he had delivered 500 pounds 20 times, and he has not delivered that much, that would be 10,000 pounds of 2.2 million potential pounds of chemical weapons. I mean, some of us have legitimate concerns. I mean, only a small fraction of what he has been used. And my concern as I hear about a limited military strike is I go back to when the President said that Assad must go on 11. We've heard the administration talk about the need to move him out. We've heard them talking about changing the ground game. Now, these comments have been made in the past prior to this August. But I guess my concern now is that we're sitting here talking about going to war. Some would say it's not a war. I believe it is. But most of the time when a leader decides to go to war, they use a doctrine and they follow certain principles on whether or not it is or is not justified. Colin Powell's doctrine had 7 principles. Are there clear and attainable objectives? Have risk and cost been fully analyzed? Have all other policy means been fully exhausted? Is there a plausible exit strategy? Have the consequences been fully considered? Is the action supported by the American people? Do we have broad international support? Secretary Kerry, my question for you as a representative of the administration is, would you list for us the principles of the doctrine that President Obama uses in making a decision whether to go to war?
Well, how much time do I have?
1 minute and 35 seconds.
Okay. I think the President has great respect for Colin Powell, and so do I. And I was always impressed by the principles that he laid out. But I found that not every single situation, unfortunately, always lends itself to that. There are occasions where the President has to make a decision that may or may not have broad support or may not have exhausted all the remedies simply because of the time frame. I don't think that's the situation. The President is going through the process of the UN. He is trying to build international support. We are reaching out. We've reached out.
Respectfully, I'm down to about 45 seconds, but I'd like to know the principles. And if
well, I'd be happy. You know what I do is I'll submit to you within 24 hours in writing, so you have a chance to weigh that properly, because I don't want to do it in 30 seconds.
That would be perfect. I would just appreciate the principles under which the President uses with the decision to go or not to go to war. And with that, Mr. Speaker, I'll yield the remainder of my time. Gentlemen, thank you for being here.
Thank you, sir.